This is one of the most brilliant music intensives I've ever been to. Every day we had presentations from world-renowned musicians and music historians who would come with topics that were both really interesting and really relevant in today's world of music performance.
It was a really great way to stay connected with tutors and fellow students despite the distance. It was great to be able to see familiar faces and connect with them and talk to them and ask questions and interact in all those great ways. Despite the distance, the tutors were able to communicate all their presentations really well, and it was great.
I'm coming from a regional area. The Academy was a great opportunity to expand my musical knowledge in ways that I haven't before and meet online with like-minded students.
The presentations themselves were so interesting. They were all so different and varied and so applicable, I found.
One of the great things about Young Mannheim Symphonists programs is that you get the rare opportunity of discussing historically informed performance and period instruments with both professionals and young passionate musicians.
It was great to have guest speakers who were heavily involved in the scene of historically informed performances, as well as the program's directors Rachael and Nicole, who helped to move the discussion along and contribute their own ideas and questions to the group.
Welcome to the short history of nearly every bassoon. One of the main differences between the classical bassoon and the Baroque bassoon is, of course, there are more keys. The classical bassoon, or this one, has 8 keys, and it can have anywhere from 7 to 8 or more. One of the other differences, and the reasons why there were more keys, is that the range of notes was extended in the upper register as the instrument began to be utilised more soloistically.
So this clarinet uses, because it has not as many keys as a modern instrument, it uses a lot more of what's called cross fingerings or fork fingerings. And I'll just demonstrate that quickly to give you an idea of what that sounds like. So this is the E on the clarinet. It's the same fingering on a modern clarinet. This is the D. Now in between those two notes, I have the note E flat as a cross fingering or a fork fingering. I don't have a key on my classical clarinet for that note. And then it creates a different colour in the sound, like this. So it's softer and it's a little bit more muffled as a sound, or it has just a different, darker colour. The composers of the period, they knew this about the wind instruments, and they composed their music specifically to make use of those colours. So when you're playing classical music on a modern instrument, for example, you can, on a wind instrument in particular, you can keep that in mind whenever you see a sharp or a flat, that note would have had a different colour to the natural notes of the key that you're playing in. So, and it really has an immediate effect on the music if you start giving some thought to that.
Between the Baroque era and the classical era, our roles changed enormously. In the Baroque era, we were the icing on the cake, playing high melodies and at special moments in a piece. In the classical era, we were, and from then on until the invention of the valves, we were relegated to the fundament of the orchestra, where we were actually part of the timpani section. So you notice that when the trumpets and the timpani come in a classical piece or early romantic piece, you feel at home because we're playing tonics and dominants, and that's about it.
Hi to you, Young Mannheim Symphonists. Welcome to the National Online Winter Academy. I'm Rob Neal, and I'm a historical bass player. That means that I get to play a range of different bass instruments, covering several hundred years and from 2 different instrument families, with from 3 to 6 strings and sometimes frets. I'm going to show you some of the instruments which I would use to perform music from the classical and romantic periods, which differ slightly from the modern double bass. The first is this one, the Viennese violone or Viennese bass. Most commonly it has 5 strings, and its tuning is quite unusual, usually F, A, D, F sharp, and A. So a 3rds, 4th tuning, more commonly associated with the viola da gamba.
I learned so much about historically informed performance and period instruments that I can bring into my practice room and into my orchestral playing.
I'm actually playing a lot of 19th century pieces currently, and the information provided definitely could help me with that.
The Academy provided me with resources that I can use with my music into the future, as well as things that I can weave into my practice now.
Books, websites, places to find recordings. So now I'm equipped to look further into the topics discussed.
A presentation on skills for positive performance, which was so good. I found that it definitely helped me a lot, and I think it's definitely something I could use in the future.
On top of all this, the course was so much fun, and I got so much info out of it.